Alright guys, Team of the Year is a few days away, and I wanted to go over my God Squad and show you guys how I'm preparing for Team of the Year and what cards and who I'm using and what I'm going to do with all of them, as we're kind of getting to the point where if you've made a lot of master sets untradeable over the course of the year, you've probably got some that don't make your lineup, especially if you spend money on the game. I'm also going to try and answer as many questions in the comments section for this video over the next day or so. If I don't get to, I do apologize, but I'll try and answer as many as I can. Alright, let's get into what the squad looks like. Here is what my team is currently shaping up as, and I want to talk about how I've stopped with just putting the highest rated players on every single line and whatnot, and I've kind of gone to a theme approach, especially with abilities. So in NHL 23, if you want to be great at the game and you don't want to fully commit to behind the net, I can respect that. I don't really like doing all the wraps and everything like that. I think it's kind of lame. However, if you get to Division 2, Division 1, and you play Hut Champs pretty competitively, I think that having a line that runs behind the net is super important, because you need to just change up how you play. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, it's pretty easy to figure out. So my first line is Nathan MacKinnon's X Factor, 6'2", 296 speed. I've got Magician and Fly the Zone, and literally no abilities. I think that's what makes his card so impressive, is the fact that you don't need any abilities on him for him to be very good. I think there's a lot of cards, and I want to talk about this as well, where people in a vacuum will say this card's very good, but it's due to the fact that abilities are activated. Well, if you've got a lot of cards and a lot of great cards, or even not that many, but you've got some that have a lot of ability points tied up in, and you can't activate certain abilities on cards, they become a lot less useful. However, Nathan MacKinnon, because he's just one of the best statted players in Hut, he remains my line number one. He's one of the fastest cards in the game, and I've enjoyed him ever since I've had him. Then we've got Jay Beagle. Jay Beagle, for all intents and purposes, is the best card in the game that isn't, one of the Evos like Dobson, for example. And even Dobson, I've heard some bad things about. But nonetheless, Gold Quick Draw, I talk about it a lot. I think it is extremely valuable to have on at least one center on your team, because if you are good at the faceoffs, it's something that I consider myself elite at. I legitimately win 90% of the draws with Jay Beagle, and starting with the puck almost every time is obviously a huge advantage. Big Tipper is shut down and no contest. I don't activate on, because I think that what you guys are probably running into as well, even if you don't have a stacked team, on my no money spent team, we're seeing the same thing. It's very hard to activate multiple abilities on one card, because so many cards have a great collection of abilities. They've gotten a lot better in terms of the content this year at making cards super intriguing and interesting to use, because of the really good abilities that they have. So I don't activate anything in this, and even though I'm someone who loves tipping home the big ones in HUD, it's something I've become quite good at. I don't even have Big Tipper on him. I just use it for Gold Quick Draw. Then we've got Connor McDavid's X Factor, and obviously we're all waiting for his Team of the Year card. There's no way that he does not get one, and I can't wait for it, because this card feels faster than his attributes are. He always has, and he's 6'1", good size. I don't activate wheels on him. I've mentioned this in a prior video, and me and Kesso on the podcast actually discussed a little bit. Wheels has become an ability where it's almost not worth activating, again, for the same issue, or the same thing I was just talking about, that there's so many cards with great abilities. Ripping 10% or 25 over 20, about 25% of your entire ability points in one, that a card that's already got 96 speed. It's just like, it's not, I don't know, it's a great ability. Like, if I could activate it on all my cards, I would, but the cost is so heavy that I think it's losing a lot more of its effectiveness. I run him with Thief as well as Magician. He can play center, but I think he's always going to excel on the wing. All right, my second line, I talked about how I think it is, you need to have different lines that do different things. So I run overload on pretty much all of my lines. There are some situations on my fourth line where I'll run Crash the Net. But my second line is behind the net. I've started to just kind of embrace the situation. It's tough losing games to people that just rap you constantly, and or the fact that you just don't. If I'm someone that really tried to stay away from doing raps at all, but there's games where people just commit to sitting in front of the net or laying down in the middle of the ice, and that's all that's open. So I think in some situations where people are just completely leaving it open and just sitting in the middle, I think it's all, it's fair game. But nonetheless, we've got Mario Lemieux. I haven't upgraded him to his 92. The reason being is that he doesn't get a skating increase. He doesn't go up acceleration or speed, and his ability that he gets at tier 5 is just not very good. I think that the one knock on Mario Lemieux, much like Nathan MacKinnon, is his ability abilities are awful. Like the 90s Mario, or I think it's the 80s. The 80s Mario Lemieux has awful abilities, but his attributes are absolutely unbelievable, which is why he's one of the best cards in the game. The fact he's 6'4", 225 with this speed and shot and everything is what makes him so good. So yeah, I don't activate anything on him. I run him on the second line because when I use behind the net, you want to use big players that are very hard to knock off the puck, which leads me into my center, the Edmonton Oilers Wayne Gretzky, which is probably the best card in the game. I know I said Jay Beagle, but when you activate Elite Edges and Unstoppable Force, he does not lose the puck, and you are able to do a lot of in-tight cuts, things like that. I will be upgrading this to a Tier 5 very shortly, but again, I just want to wait for Team of the Year to come out to see what costs that I'm going to have to incur on the Team of the Year cards, because Team of the Year is only around for about a week if you're making the men's cards, and then obviously the women's cards in week 2. But the first week, you only have a week, so everything needs to go into that, so I'm not wasting any resources going up to Tier 5 just yet. However, Close Quarters is a phenomenal ability. I don't know if I'm going to invest in any more abilities on Wayne Gretzky, because he's already, I mean, that's essentially 16 in one card, and while he is unbelievable, I think that might be a little much. But again, Unstoppable Force on a line that runs behind the net is phenomenal. Which leads me into Gary Roberts, and I was messing around with some of my abilities yesterday, but what I do run on Gary Roberts, I don't put Close Quarters on him. I actually put Unstoppable Force and Truculence, and again, same situation. I run behind the net, and he's just so hard to bump off the puck. This card has been unbelievable for me. Like, he's been so good, plays better than his attributes indicate, and I know a lot of people think that, or say that Bertuzzi's better than Roberts, and, you know, I think it's all just personal preference, to be honest with you. I've loved Gary Roberts, especially with these two abilities activated, and he makes that behind the net line really, really effective. Now, my third line I've been messing around with a little bit. I have really not liked Danny Briere. Again, you have to remember, if you can't put abilities on a card, then they lose a lot of that effectiveness, and I think if I were to put Elite Edges on Danny Briere, he'd probably be a little bit more impactful for me, even though he has 99 agility. Elite Edges just makes it feel like you're playing on land. Like, it makes you feel that you're not playing server-based games. And Gold Wheels, again, I don't think it's worth activating on especially on a card that's not in your first line. But he has been very fast, and if you're someone that goes for like the low far side shots and things like that off the rush, he's effective at that. But defensively, even with high body checking, I can't bump anyone off the puck with him, and makes it pretty tough. Stützle, who is about to get his 92 overall upgrade, is becoming one of the better cards in the game. So he gets up to 92. We'll see if he gets 94 speed and acceleration. He probably won't. But Elite Edges on him would be phenomenal if he's higher up in your lineup. But even without the attributes, Thief is such a good synergy that he's got a great build for center. So I've really liked his card. He's felt better than his attributes indicate. He's only going to get better, so I'm super glad that I made him. I know it was an injury scare, but he's been insane. And then lastly, I've got the 92 Todd Bertuzzi. I don't put Truculence on him because, again, he's on my third line. If he was up higher, I'd probably do it, but even without it, he's so big that he crushes everyone, no matter what. You put Magician on him, and it helps out with his agility a little bit, but again, this card is just so big that when you get into that Division 2, Division 1, and higher end HUT champs, these are the kind of cards you need to hold on to the puck, and he's been a pretty good complement to Stützle and Briere. And then on my fourth line, again, sometimes I'll run Crash the Net on this, but I've got Peter Forsberg at center. I had Unstoppable Force on a little bit higher in the lineup, but just some other cards have passed him. He's a phenomenal center. You put Thief on him and Distributor. He's got +5 to faceoffs, up to 94. Just extremely good, and that's why he's over Austin Matthews. I think Matthews' X Factor it's frustrating because his X Factor is not good. But if he gets Team of the Year, that card is going to be wild. And if he gets, any sort of ability, once he gets Thief, I think that's going to help him out a lot. He just has 85 on the draw. He's a perfectly built center, but he needs a little bit more on the face-off rating, and then I'd probably swap them. But I've liked him on the wing because he can hold off the puck. And then Superstar, Matthew Barzal, 95 speed and great synergies. Like, there's not much else to say. I've been testing out a lot of cards. I'll show you guys my collection and the kind of the situation I'm in right now, because I mentioned that at the beginning of the video. I'm at a point where I've tested out and made so many Master Set players that I don't have Nico Hischier in the lineup. I didn't mind him. I thought he was okay, but he got bumped off the puck so easily that I didn't make my team after that, and I had him on the wing too. So I've got Timu Solani. I'd rather have Matthew Barzal. I don't know if that's just me. Patrice Bergeron, if I didn't have Jay Beagle, I'd put Bergeron in, and the only reason is, again, if you're not activating Gold Quick Draw, like, he loses a little bit of his effectiveness. However, if you put Workhorse and Fly the Zone on him, there is an argument to be made to use him over Forsberg, but I've just liked Forsberg so much. Also got Mika Zibanejad, who is a nice jack-of-all-trades kind of player, but he was effective early on in the game because there wasn't a lot of great centermen, but now getting a little long in the tooth. Johnny Gaudreau, just too small now. At the beginning of the game when no one had body checking, he was so fun to use, but now just unfortunately a little too low rated. This Patty Kane, I got him up to 90. Same situation as Goudreau though. He just gets knocked off the puck so easily, which is kind of frustrating, obviously, but he was fun to use, and he's really rare now. You can't get this card. You can't get this card other than, I believe you can buy him in the auction house, maybe tradable, but I'm just going to keep him because, at some point he's a flex card because no one else can get him. I've also got my Christmas Nito rider, who again, just doesn't replace Matthews. He could, but again, if you're not activating abilities on him, he's not nearly as good. All right, on to defense. I love my decor. Brent Seabrook has been one of my favorite cards to use since launch of the game. I have gold shutdown on him right now, but honestly, I just run truculence on him, and that's really all you need. He feels faster than 91 speed. I don't feel like I get burned by anyone, and truculence allows me to bump anyone off the puck because he's so big and he has 97 body check. Then I've got Jake Gardner, really snappy. Feels like a big version of Cale Makar. One of the better cards in the game, in all honesty. I don't even have any abilities on him. Sometimes I'll run stick him up, but really just such a fun card to use. Second pairing, I've got Mackenzie Weegar. This is a perfect example of a card that if he didn't have truculence on him would be a lot less valuable, but I run truculence on him because if I didn't, then he just loses a lot of his value. The reason why he's so good is because he has that truculence ability, and again, defensively, when you can just throw everyone off the puck, it makes it so much more effective. Cam Fowler, I've been toying with the fact of getting rid of him and selling him for like 1 million coins, but if he scores once more, man, like he has been a really good card. His shot is nuts. Like, I always find a way to get it through, and for a lot of tip shots on net. I've got 18 assists in 27 games, and I want to say probably at least 12 of them were all tip shots. I tried putting Heat Seeker and Seeing Eye on him, and I noticed it, but I can't really justify it over other things. But Cam Fowler's been one of my more favorite cards, but I'm probably gonna trade him. It depends how Team of the Year goes. Then we've got Cale Makar. Haven't upgraded him yet, but I'm going to, because you're gonna need to trade him in when he gets Team of the Year. There's really no way that he doesn't get Team of the Year, so I will be trading him in for his Team of the Year counterpart. And then lastly, we've got Alexander Edler. I bought his milestone when a game before he hit 1,000, and he was only going for about 200k, and when he was his 83. And the reason why I did it was because if they gave him truculence or some really good ability, I was like, man, this could be a valuable card because he's so big. They gave him gold truculence. I haven't played with him yet. I'm really excited to, but I just think he's a great pairing with Cale Makar because he's massive. Like, he's just absolutely huge. 99 body checking, 6'4", 210 with gold truculence. Might run stick him up on him. I'm really excited to try out this card. The other option is to sell him for like 400k. I don't know what I'm going to do. That one's pretty tough because I also have Martin Favre, who has been really, really good and essentially the exact same similar player. So I'm not really sure that's going to be I'm going to play with Edler and see how I feel, but I'm probably going to move on from Edler and keep Favre just because. And then I've got Chris Letang, who I'll probably just trade in. Again, he's not making it over any of those. And then in net for the God Squad, goalies don't matter this year more than ever, guys, because of the broken animations. Like, how many times have you seen your goalie make a save, go to cover the puck, and he throws it in his own net? It does not matter what abilities they have, their stats. Like, I'm sure that there's some that help with just routine saves, but this is brutal. The state of goaltenders in which they launched the game is unacceptable. They try to put in human animations into goaltenders, and it is absolutely bricked the position. I'm using Gudlevsky's, and he has just been not very good, but no goalie has for me. So I throw on Butterfly Effect, which I think is probably the only decent goaltender ability, but again, they don't matter. Like, it just doesn't. Bad goals happen so often in this game that there's really no explanation for it. So, all right, guys. So again, when it comes to Team of the Year, all of the X factors that I have prepared. So like, when McDavid will get it. I am going to turn him into his Team of the Year. We'll have to wait and see about Matthews or McKinnon if either of them get it. I would think that one of them, probably Matthews, is for sure going to get it, and I think that he might be the best card out of all the Team of the Year if he does get it, because he's 6'3", 208, and if he got some good abilities, the knock on it is just his abilities are awful. And if he got Team of the Year and had some good abilities, man, he could really do some damage, even more than Connor McDavid. So something to keep in mind. And then on defense, I will do Cale Makar as well. Outside of that, like if it's not McKinnon, it's Draisaitl, which I personally think it will be. I think it should be Draisaitl over McKinnon. But that's just a personal thing. We'll have to wait and see on that. If he does get it, great, I'll turn it in. If he doesn't get Team of the Year, I'll probably just keep his X Factor anyways. I think he's one of the few few X factors that's worth upgrading the whole year, regardless of team of the year. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below, guys, and what you're doing with your squad when it comes to team of the year. Excited to see the release on Friday. Make sure you tune into the stream. I'll be streaming all day live that day, all the way up till 5 p.m. when we get the actual release of team of the year. So again, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.